So, what better use of our time? Instead of just wasting it sitting around having meaningless conversations, we decided to apply ourselves to the big questions, the things that keep us awake at nights. And tonight's big question, of course, has been what old TV show would you turn into a game and what kind of game? We're going to kick off the big question with Paul, because Paul's what he likes to call an ideas man. If you have ideas, Paul's your man. If you actually need things done, not Paul's your man. But let's go to Ideas Central itself, Paul in Newton Ards, a well-known hub of creativity here in Northern Ireland, because so many great ideas have come out of Newton Ards, like getting in the car and leaving Newton Ards on a wet day. So, Paul, first of all, what show, be it TV show, be it cartoon, whatever, what old show do you think needs a game that hasn't got a game?
Well, as far as I'm aware, and I haven't seen one, but I could be wrong, but I would make a game based on the A-Team. Because I have a feeling for RPGs, given that nobody ever dies in the A-Team, it's ideal that you can't lose this game. Even if you had a D20, you would have to roll 3 ones in a row to even inflict pain on yourself.
At the same time, Paul, when you're saying nobody ever dies in the A-Team, that applies to both the good guys and the bad, because cast your mind back to the opening credits of the A-Team, and that guy in the open top Willie's Jeep flips that over and lands on his head. Doesn't die though.
No, it's fine. It just keeps bouncing. It's fine.
Don't helicopters slap into the sides of mountainsides?
Yeah.
But no one.
Just scratch.
And you just see it cuts to a wee lone guy in a parachute in the background, and you go, "Nice, he's okay, he's grand." You know.
I was thinking.
I don't believe you for a start. So I'm doing a search for A-Team board game. Okay. Okay, the good news here is that whilst, yes, there has been an A-Team board game.
Oh, no.
Judging by the looks of it, there hasn't been an A-Team board game since about the time the A-Team was on TV.
Okay.
By that well-known brand of household games, Parker, which, of course, we don't see. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to accept there's no A-Team board game. Let's just see, is there an A-Team RPG? I firmly expect a shoulder-mounted one to appear. No. No, there seems not to have been an RPG that took the A-Team as its premise. The last issue that I'm going to take to check your idea out is, did anyone die in the A-Team?
No. The network is never.
Aha! Aha! Ha!
Here we go. One stump
wrong.
Oh, we have to endure Andy's smugness now, don't we? Smug mode engaged.
Where I get the knife and spread this butter thing. During filming, 12 people died. No. During the entire series, only 5 people died on screen. However, 3 team members were shot over the course of the series. Murdoch has been shot twice. We can even tell you what episodes. That's kind of sad. So 5 people have died. Now, to be fair, it doesn't stipulate whether they died as a result of
action. Or whether it was just an old character who just died.
Yeah.
While they were trying to save him.
Well, thanks, Murdoch. At least old Joe got to see the farm restored again before he passed away. It could have been stuff like that there. Sad fact there. George Pepper died from pneumonia. Not on screen.
No, we hadn't heard about that.
No. Here's a question though for you, Paul. What happens at the end of the A-Team? And no, I haven't Googled it. It's just popped into my head.
I genuinely can't remember. And I could have checked because I did look up IMDb earlier because I worked out there's 97 episodes of the A-Team. So I was thinking for mission possibilities, for having a deck of cards to pick your mission, there's 97 episodes to choose from.
Well, I happen to know what happens in the last episode. None of them get out of the quantum leap accelerator and return to real life.
What happened?
But they don't get. Well, I think they get away, but I don't think they have their names cleared or anything.
I remember they got caught in one of the episodes, didn't they? They got caught a few times. There's one time they ended up in a jail or something. But I don't remember the last one at all. No.
Well, here we go, and it's somewhat of an anticlimax to the entire thing. Probably indicative of the fact that the show got cancelled. Probably like after they'd finished filming.
Okay.
The A-Team Season 5 episode 13, Without Reservations, aired in March 1987 and was the finale of the show. It sees Face badly wounded after being shot by a cop. Whilst Murdoch is taken hostage by mobsters, Hannibal and BA eventually find a way to rescue their friend and save Face.
Save Face.
Yes, I see.
See what you did there.
See what we did there. I'll not take credit for it. That's the writer of Screen Rant wins that one. Okay, so an RPG then, Paul.
But but I could be swayed. But I'm thinking an RPG plays better. Plus, you've got your 4 main characters, but then you can extend it out. You can have someone playing Amy, and you can have someone playing Colonel Decker. So it's cooperative, and you could have somebody playing the underhand character against you to try and thwart everything. You've loads of mission possibilities, and if you're going to put some minis into the game, you've got somebody's going to get a Corvette, somebody's going to get the van, somebody's going to get cop cars, somebody's getting a helicopter, and there's any amount of Jeeps.
Now, tell me this, Paul. In this game, in this RPG, if it ever got made, could you at some point go to the ridiculous and fly a tank by shooting it after it's fallen out the back of an aircraft?
See, I don't even.
Or that be a whole load of 20s in a row to get that.
Yeah, that's how many. That's when someone has saved up all their extra goes, has saved up how many bonus rolls and how many items of equipment in order to make anything happen.
It's like, what do you do in this turn? I'm using all the dice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing. Do you see this one having like some sort of? You remember how in like some games you get like the dice pull, and everyone like in Marvel and that, and the players can make a pitch for why they should get to use some of the dice out of the pull for a cool thing.
Yeah.
Because pardon me, obviously the A-Team had a huge amount of, ironically, MacGyver in it. We're trapped in an old mine. What we really need to build is a tank.
Oh, but look what I find round the corner. Somebody's hidden one.
Yeah, you would almost need some sort of table that's like literally out of the GM's control. Because you could see some GMs being a complete no, you're in a mine. No, it's completely empty. No, there's wooden beams and a gas lamp. That's it. That's the only objects. You'd almost need some sort of table where the players do get a roll on it for some sort of standard, you're in a mine, you're in the southern states of America, and it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Roll a d20, you got 19. You find the following.
That was left.
This is actually kind of going along the lines of Bucket of Doom. It's like, here's the problem you're faced with, and here's 5 random items. You got to use these and connect them together to escape certain death.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Paul's use for Bucket of Doom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, Paul, with the team game then, I mean, could you have the opportunity to create your own A team rather than role playing the characters as established in canon? Could players chance their arm and roll up? You too have been wrongly accused and they escaped from a maximum security stockade.
And would you be rolling for your own crew?
Yeah, you could. I mean, imagine the A team kicking back in Havana, and I could see Face doing this. He literally franchises the A team structure as like a cover to other wrongly accused Marines or servicemen or whatever. That anyone who's wrongly accused by the state can kind of contact him. They get a set of IDs, but the payback to the A team has to be, you now are the A team.
Oh, pass down the baton to a different generation.
Yeah, for £250,000.
The B team.
The B
team. Can we be called the B specialist? No, not. So what about that? Could we have other A teams in your?
I don't like it.
No,
don't like it.
That doesn't
like
it for you. Okay.
No, you gotta keep the originals.
So it's the original game world, very much misogynistic, and girls can expect to take a back seat in your game. That's cool. It's listen, you creators are free to make what they want.
It's of an era.
And occasionally a Cylon turns up and you can dress up as Godzilla.
That makes it all right.
Exactly. Episode 1. I watched that about a month ago.
You know what I'm actually thinking right now? This just makes me think of our friend and colleague, Crooked Carl, because you could 7TV this.
Yeah, totes. What the hell am I? 17? Yeah, totally.
Does he have a set of 18 minis? I don't think. I haven't seen them.
No. I mean,
or maybe he does.
You and I know firmly and properly to say nobody has a set of any miniatures that are unlicensed, because that would be an IP invention. However, if one
does have a B team,
one would find a group of specialists that some people might say resemblance to a popular TV show from the 80s, which featured a group of military convicts who escaped after being confined to a military stockade for a crime they didn't commit.
But now live in the Greater Los Angeles area.
Yes, and to this day are still wanted by the authorities. So, Paul, I'm guessing, Paul, by the fact you haven't mentioned it, so I feel obliged to lift a small, insignificant flag. What about the A-Team movie?
Didn't like it.
Okay.
They flew a tank.
I was going to say...
It depends. It depends what you wanted from it. Liam Neeson, I like Liam Neeson, but it just didn't. For a Saturday afternoon, take your brain out, sit down and veg and watch a movie. Yes, it ticks those boxes, but could have been
the real reason that Paul doesn't like it, and myself, is that the bad guy was a General Morrison. And that's not, we just
distance. Not in our family history.
Right, yes, of course, because you two share the same name and are therefore brothers. That works so well with the police at the minute when you are travelling around the countryside enjoying yourselves. So yeah, take the brain out in the Saturday afternoon. I get it, Paul. I think the only thing was they probably expect you to put it back in when you were finished watching it. So what about with your 18? Since you seem determined to stay on the road of Portugal, what if you just didn't genderize them? If you just had the characters of Face, Murdoch, Okay.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
No, I've reached the problem because Mr. T is called Mr. T.
It's called.
Yeah.
Well, then, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think a lot of people are going to like it, but I could see you hitting a real social media wall with sort of literally it being a boys only game practically.
But given the time that it was out in the mid '80s, it was probably still is a 99.9% boys only watching show.
Yeah, given that, the 1700s and all, there was slavery, they still seem quite keen to take down the statues now. So I'm not sure that argument necessarily is going to float for you, but that would almost need a public vote. Put it this way, I wouldn't like to be standing beside you whenever you pitch it.
Well, Andy, you could just take ourselves back to playing the Jaws game when you can play a bloke or another bloke. Because that film pretty much was just three blokes and a shark.
No, you see, there we go. There's what I needed. Good counterbalance, and you're quite right. Yeah, and indeed the Top Gun game. The Top Gun game features a set of male characters. No, Paul, you're completely forgiven, and you're allowed to run with it. Yeah, not that I've got a vote any more or less than you, but yes, that.
I'm just going to say, the thing features a cast of just guys. There's no women in the film at all. But, these things happen. That was the 80s.
The computer was a girl.
Yeah, but it got killed by alcohol.
Yeah, right. I mean, the message behind that's really quite shocking now you think on it. That's
yeah. What about Charlie? What about Charlie's Angels? They were all female. There was no blokes in it.
This is true.
Charlie was a bloke.
But he was in charge.
I'm only being devil's advocate. No, but Justy has given you a just defense.
Oh.
So, with no further ado, okay. So the A-Team RPG has legs, and we'll put that in the box if we had a box.
It has legs. Yes.
Yeah. The box of possibility. So, sliding sideways, upwards, downwards, whatever way you can take it, Justin. What would be the TV show? What you would like to see reborn as a game? And what?
Mine isn't as old as Paul's, and it's on this side of the pond. I'm going to go with the great British sitcom that was Bottom.
Okay.
Now, and I've got good reasoning for this. We've all played D&D. We've all role-played. And how many times have you went on a quest on D&D where you're told by the GM, you have to go through this forest and then find a way into the secret dungeon, go through the dungeon, work your way up the mountain, kill all the trolls, kill the ogre, get the key to the big vault with the dragon's treasure, kill the dragon, get the treasure, come home. It's a big, mad quest. Then you get all your books out, you sit down for a gaming session, you think this is going to be awesome. And the reality is you spend the next 3 or 4 sessions just having a bar fight. So I'm kind of thinking you could pull that back a great deal. And instead of having a big quest, have an everyday task. Like today's thing is we're going to go and sign on, or we're going to go to the shop and buy biscuits. I want to role play that, but I want to role play that with the manic craziness that came with Bottom. And that sort of level of just surreal things that can go on and happen, but in a grounded world. So no fantasy, no dragons or anything, but yeah, I mean, there'd be lots of like frying pans getting like thrown at people and lots of very, very silly, surreal humor. But yeah, let's role play that. Andy's dead.
It's just when you thought games couldn't have got any weirder.
Hey, bring them to me. I'll make them weird for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Paul's not saying very much either.
No. So I've either come up with a brilliant idea, which is just blowing your minds, or I'm just talking rubbish. But this is the thing about roleplay. if you have that sort of theme and you have like that sort of like, you know, element to a game, it's really down to how you play the character. You could go completely bonkers, or you could try and sort of like, you could play it straight, but I think you'd have to be a fan, really. You have to lean into the sort of absurdity of it.
I've played D&D RPG where you have been the GM, and it has gone really weird without bringing TV weird into it. That sort of game would actually need a level of normality.
That's what I did say. It would have to be, the weird things go on, but it is grounded in some type of reality. You know, you're not going to have, like I said, the dragons and the monsters and all that. You're going to be like, today we're going to go like to the post office, and you just have to get into some weird scenarios on the way there and the way back. But it's role playing in an episodic format. So you say, right, okay, we're going to limit this to like 45 minutes, and then just dive into the session. So instead of having the big campaign that's going to last weeks and weeks and weeks, just have a campaign that lasts one session. And it's just something as simple as, we're going to catch a bus and go into the town. How can you make that bizarre or weird? And there's a million and one ways you can do it. If you've seen Bottom, you will know that.
You know, yeah, at the very start of this, my immediate gut reaction was, sweet Mary, is he lost the plot completely? This is like the barmiest, dumbest thing he's ever actually come out with. And the more you talked, the less I was able to hear the actual words you were saying. But when you finished, I did kind of swing around to thinking about Fiasco.
Yes, it's exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Fiasco for me works in that kind of offbeat, outlandish, weird, disconnected, but not kind of fanciful way. My only worry for Bottom on like the A-Team is that, I don't know, I've watched Bottom. I'm not going to say I'm a fan, but I'm not going to say I don't like it. But I would worry that it's maybe too niche. I mean, if you'd said Monty Python.
Well, that's my other one, which I'm going to come to next time round. But yes, I'm going down that absurd theme for games. I think we need more of it. I mean, how many times have you picked up a rule book and it's been like 200 or 300 pages in a GM's manual, and then 200 or 300 pages in a player's manual, and it's all very, very clinical now. D&D's become very clinical. There's charts and tables for absolutely everything, and it's left less open to interpretation than it used to be. Whereas I kind of think, yeah, okay, fair enough, I will grant that. It is very like Fiasco, but I think you need a looser form of an RPG that you can be up and running and playing in no time, that doesn't heavily rely on statistics or charts or tables, and can be played in a shorter space of time. Like, if you get people around to play it, you can play a game in an hour, and it doesn't necessarily have to tie into a longer, bigger quest or whatever.
Yeah.
Just sort of like this week on Bottom, you know, and then you just play out that episode.
Paul?
No, I'd give it a go, but it's going to be one of those interesting things where the kit that you're going to carry about in this game is going to be frying pan, a kettle, a bit of pizza,
your old underpants.
Yeah,
and
some bloke
filled up with Windling,
and some bloke called Nigel following you about.
Bottle of Brit from Boots.
I can offer you one amusing anecdote, and yes, it is from Google. Why the show ended up being called Bottom. It was just a joke title that the two of them had come up with, and then they heard that the then head of BBC Two had got wind of it and really didn't like it. So they
got wind of it.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Yeah, their pun was, they originally thought it'd be amusing for people to be able to say, oh, I seen your bottom last night on TV and stuff like that there, and yeah, BBC Two You know, that well-renowned rebel station who breaks with convention at every turn strangely didn't like the idea of a program called Bottom. There you go now. Well, since this is an independently funded channel, we'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Tune in, where we'll be talking about more things that will never ever happen, but, you know, might make amusing games.
Well,
of course, we don't actually have any sponsors, so those weren't really adverts. They were probably just a few still images that I stole off the internet and sandwiched in between times that we all had a peek.
Don't tell them.
Oh, okay, sorry. I mean, you are all lucky that we're on Zoom. Otherwise, Justin would be sitting in the toilet talking to us if we were using Messenger. If only it wasn't true. There are some sites that I should be able to go to the grave having never seen. Unfortunately, you've denied me of two of those, Justin. So, okay, my first offering into the melting pot of TV shows, what should be resurrected into games. Yeah, just prior to this, obviously, Paul said, "Oh, let me guess, is it something sci-fi?" Oh, I'm sorry, have you never met me before? There's our F-bomb for the entire episode. And yes, it will be sci-fi related, Paul. Thank you very much.
I was just checking. I'd be concerned if it wasn't.
And no, it won't be Red Dwarf. Two reasons for that. One, it's had a game already. And two, it's had a game already. And that's the same reason, but it's important enough in the context of what we're talking about to mention twice, which is itself
a white hole.
So no, there was a Red Dwarf RPG, but only a few years ago.
There was a series of lovely minis that someone brought out as well for it, which are now going for stupid money, like £30-40 a piece.
Yeah. There's probably, if you check, a reason for that and why they don't continue to do it.
Copyright.
Oh.
So, my first resurrection from the tombs, a bit like Justin, obscure, British, at the time considered a little bit risque and off the wall. I'm going for Blake 7.
Has it not had a game?
Well, again, just like everybody else, I'm about to Google it. You don't think, like, I didn't research this. This isn't it. You weren't supposed to go and do homework. This was supposed to be off the cuff, natural, flamboyant, see what you felt like, you know? Blake 7. But I'll search board game first because that's the most likely. It would help if you used the word board game, wouldn't it? Blake 7 did have a board game. It looked to be... No, sorry. Someone made themselves a chess set based on Blake 7 with cardboard cutouts of the pictures of the people and made them stand using cereal packet boxes. That's fandom. Shop at the Borderlands is showing up something. There's not that there's Galactic Monopoly or something. Weird, but Future Freedom Fighter dice. I think if we think carefully, we know where they came from. So no, it would appear that there was not a Blake 7 official game. I find it hard to believe that there wasn't a... Oh, hang on. Blake 7 role-playing game.
Right.
Introduction. For those unfamiliar with Blake 7, it feels important to point out before passing a careless judgment upon a series and its legacy that Blake 7 was a little bit on the part of many actors. Okay, I'm not liking your tone there, young man. Please, much more good space. Is this a review or not? Role-playing game is simply a mechanism to stop those. What?
How old is that website?
The book's 127 pages in total. Hardback cover. RPG Online may note that the featured upload a picture of the front cover of the book might be a good idea. Artwork, Rageous Max on the per. Summary of content. Perfectly settled 8-page run through on Blake 7. Okay, this appears to be old. I'm not getting it. Right, it was Horizon Publishing. Horizon Blake 7 role-playing game. 1994. It cost £4.50.
Wow.
Could you imagine buying a role-playing book for £4.50 now?
A core book, anyway.
It's probably hardback too.
You wouldn't get a dice for that.
Publisher was Appreciation Society. Horizon, the official Blake 7 fan club.
Andy, there's your challenge. You have to source a copy of this now.
I can download it off Drive-Thru RPG, apparently.
There you go.
So, but anyway, by the rules of the game, 1994 would be considered recent. This was a published thing, and it sold for actual money. So my first vote into the pond burns up, and it's in the flames of re-entry itself. So there you go.
That's still, hang on, that's still over 25 years ago. That can't be considered recent.
I think by the rules for this game tonight, which granted, I've only just made up, but since it's my game, I feel that I can make them up. I think the rules clearly stipulated which show would you like to bring back to life in the form of a game of your choice, which has not already been made a game. I have shown the bluff card, and that's a down. I've lost a life. So you are both still on 3 lives. You have a green tick each, but I've got my first red X. However, I think we might start to see the scores change when we turn once again to Paul for his second offering, because my brain's going to say to me that Paul read the brief and has thought of one TV show.
Well,
there was a brief.
Question one, there was a brief. I'm worried. 2, I did think of another one, and now I'm thinking Andy's going to find another game based on this, because I was going to go into Cartoon World and resurrect Thundercats.
Okay, well let's ask computer.
And rather worryingly, when I went into IMDb to have a wee look on the old Thundercats, do you know that they are actually making a new series? There's a new
Thundercats Roar.
Yeah,
it's the kids version, but they're real Cartoon Network are bringing up.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks bad. But here's a question for you: in the original 1983 type, there were 4 seasons. How many episodes do you think were in season 1 of the Thundercats?
It's ridiculously big, isn't it? There's something like 100 or something in season 1, isn't there?
No.
65.
60. I knew it was bigger than like a normal series.
Season 1. It ran for a full year.
How many?
But then season 2 had 25 episodes, and then season 3 and season 4 had 20 episodes each. 65 episodes. Can you imagine buying that DVD?
Somebody just forgot to divide those reels up when they were sent them. Do you know
as well? My goodness.
Do you remember why the Thundercats had to flee their home planet, Paul?
No.
Do you remember them fleeing their home planet? No.
Yeah, I do remember playing, but I couldn't. But it can't be
dig
anything to do with Mumra.
Dig out and rewatch episode 1 because the Thundercats have to leave their home planet. Because do you remember the old ghosty dude who keeps sort of appearing and talking to him all the time?
Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Mumra.
He destroyed their homeworld. Their big ghosty Obi-Wan destroyed Thundaria or whatever it was called. And what do you call the hero? Lion-O.
Lion-O.
Yeah, they were all in like a cryo sleep as they traveled through space looking for a new home. But something went wrong with his cryo sleep. So whenever they arrived at new home, nobody else had aged, but he'd grown up to be a man, but he still had a boy's mind.
Because that's how cryo sleep works.
Yeah. But also just bear that in mind as you watch or rewatch Thundercats. Okay? Yeah. That's all. I'm just going to leave it there in the interests of good taste. But Mumra. Yeah.
The last living human.
Yeah, because they arrived on Earth. That's the planet the Thundercats land on. That's why Arthur appears and stuff like that there. But yeah, Mumra is actually a cursed Egyptian mummy. This is all news to Paul, the show which he wanted to resurrect and he didn't know.
This is just one of these things. I just like the show.
Yeah, but you know, if you're actually
you're going, I'm going to have to go and start rewatching all, or I'm going to have to find somewhere to download them all.
Well, do you know, Paul, if you were actually going to think seriously about buying an IP and producing a game, we would like to think you would have shown a bit more interest and sort of been aware of your pet love.
But has there been a game of it already?
There has, but not in recent enough time for Paul to be annoyed because, yet again, it was an MB special straight to Wellworth store shelves, and it was move the cardboard counters around the sort of Ludo-like board as you do nothing that matters to anyone at all.
So it's just a title on a game. I mean, thematic sort of rebrand of something else.
Pretty much. It's actually got quite a it's not a snakes and ladders type board, but it's one of those boards where you just follow a line. There was actually like 2 different board games, but they were all pretty much made from recycled toilet paper. And somebody done what you dream of, Paul. They bought the license and got to make corrugated cardboard stand-up little people.
Okay.
Wow.
Winner every day. Yeah.
Every single day. So, yeah, and sorry, we got so distracted by this. Is it going to be an RPG? Is it going to be a board game? Is it going to be a miniature skirmish game? What's your game pitch for this, Paul?
Haven't really thought about it, to be fair.
Oh, my God.
Well, given that we went RPG on the A-team, let's go for a board game on this one.
Let's.
Yeah.
Let's take it up. Let's say card game. Deck building.
Justin, you take Paul from an uncomfortable position and put him into one where he now doesn't even know if the pool's got a bottom. So, Paul, what would you envisage this card game being like?
My pool doesn't have any water in it.
That's true in so many senses. That explains why you're in water here. So you'd like a Thundercats card game of an undetermined manner in which people play with cards, but we're not really quite sure how or why. Well,
yeah, let's just ruin it and go. It'll be Thundercats top trumps. Move on.
I was actually about to say,
the easy way out of this is always say, make it an RPG because the game is what you make of it.
Well, a bit like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you've used your RPG cards now, boys. So the RPG boat has sailed. Again, remember those rules for this event tonight? I've just made up a new one. Yeah, I suppose for Thundercats,
it's like we're playing Flux. He's introduced a new rule. We'll have to keep going with it now.
Yeah. We don't have any cards. But no, now it's sort of throw it out there. You know what? I could kind of see like a combat card game working for Thundercats.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't just Mumra, there was other sort of villains, and you could kind of do the.
But none of them were any good. None of them were any like. They were all like a wee like Mumra's army. They weren't. There was like giant lizards and stuff, wasn't there? So
I just happened to have them sitting here. Yeah, there was Slythe, the big toad.
Yeah,
there was Monkey Man, Vulture Man, and Jackal Man. So yeah, minis do exist, but via again Crooked Carl. Let's not call him Crooked Carl. Let's just call him Carl. And Crooked Dice, because Crooked Carl sounds horrible.
Carl, it has got a charm. They are, of course, those creatures which you just offered up. They are, of course, human beings. Let's not forget that. Wildly mutated after the atomic wars which ravaged the planet. They are the last vestiges of mankind.
Andrew, anyway, you know an awful lot about Thundercats.
Do you know? I didn't go out much as a child. So, moving on to, and you'll notice by the fact that my eyes were able to stay logged with you, an awful lot of that did not require me to Google it, because, yes, I am a sad repository for useless facts. So, swinging back, as everyone does, to Justin for his second crack at the pot. What's your next show, Justin?
I'd already got a mention earlier that I do like surreal, absurd humour. And again, sticking with the whole UK side of the pond, I'm going to go with Monty Python. And we could brand it as a game called And Now Let's Play Something Completely Different.
Ooh.
Mash in all of their films and the TV series. So you could have the Knights Who Say Knee up against whatever. You throw all their films in, just all big, one big melting pot. Because let's be honest, you can't just have a game of one aspect of Monty Python, because people are always going to quote other bits of Monty Python. You want to have everything in there that they've done in one game. And I'm going to say it again, role play. Yeah, it probably suited best to role play, but I'll work away from that and say that this could actually work as a type of, sort of take that kind of game. Because let's be honest, that's kind of where their humor goes. You could play something completely absurd, somebody else could completely out absurd you and just take that back at you. So it's kind of like a push your luck to see how mad you can get, how weird you can get, and then somebody just completely trump you with just a big slap in the face with a kipper kind of thing.
I feel bad because I'm completely on board with you for Monty Python, and if I was an advertising exec, obviously dig and now let's play something else, something different.
It's like a party game type of take that kind of game.
But it's got a game.
And
unfortunately, it's a still published, still available, widely available one, and it is, of course, Monty Python Flux.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Which, ironically, it very much is the kind of game you were trying to describe badly.
Yeah. Badly.
But yeah, Monty Python Flux, which I guess that gets you.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because it's there. Well,
I will sign off from my segment and say, I'm now for someone completely different, and we'll kick back over to Andy.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm staying with sci-fi. I'm going to edge my bets. Because I'm pretty sure that if there was, I would know about it. I would have heard about it. So I'm fairly sure when I click on the search here in a minute or two, I'm going to expect another Paul scenario where something from the era comes up, but I should be fairly safe. I'm going to go with Space 1999. because I just adore it. It's even cheesier than Blake 7.
Blake 7 in another box.
Yeah, with strings attached to it. Space 1990.
No, that would be Thunderbirds or Terrahawks.
Yeah. I don't know to go down that road because it has had a game.
Yeah.
So let's see. Space 1999 board game, because that's where my head is with this one. Board game. And I'm safe. Yeah, it's got one of those classic. Now, to be fair to them, this sort of is going back a bit. There's been like 2 or 3 different board games for it. One of them had little control center screens and all. It actually was kind of cute. It had like the big computer console map and lots of like, like it's very much like the Judge Dredd game that we've all played and the Rogue Trooper one. The old Games Workshop one. It looks very much like that. And then there was another one that looks a little bit like Buck Rogers game with just big empty space and the moon and stuff. That's kind of scary because it's what I was thinking of in my head for a game. That looks as if it's like familiar, but it's not because it's the first time I've ever seen it. So yeah, okay, I'm going for a board game. And okay, if you don't know what Space 1999 is, Moonbase Alpha, established for global peace and tranquility. No, that's where they were dumping all the nuclear waste from Earth. And then there was some sort of like build up, an electrical thing, big explosion. The moon gets ripped from Earth's gravitational pull and sent hurtling through space. Obviously not killing anyone trapped on Moonbase Alpha. They all lived quite happily ever after, complete with their eco transporters and stuff like that there. And the Earth, despite huge earthquakes and tsunamis, seemingly got on all right with not having a moon anymore. Apple probably built them a new one or something in the shape of an apple.
It's a Death Star.
Later. So yeah, I would go for Space 99 because Space 999, it's the kind of, I don't know, it's still a nice safe base for them, but they're always looking for a new home. But they've got the ships so they can go off on little mad adventures, but it's still the moon. So, there was a certain amount of, they didn't have to worry about building a big spaceship prop for them. All that money got poured into building other people's props and things. But I like a board game which is like a worker placement. And I think it would be sort of representing the moon base and the surrounding space. And then all the players would be the different characters, but you've kind of got like a budget of your team, and you can assign them to doing different things and send them to do different missions, both on the moon and sort of in near space on Eagles, but there's a limited number of Eagles. So you'd be competing with the other players for the serviceable Eagles and stuff like that there, because they crash every episode. I think they've crashed like out of the 2 seasons, they crashed like 50% of all their Eagles. And it's the same guy crashes them every week because anyone else just dies, but he crashes and gets to survive. Alan Carter. Take his license off him. So yeah, that's what I go for, like a worker placement Space 1990 game, and you're on the quest looking for a new home so that you can eventually do Operation Exodus and leave Alpha forever and set up a new home and have lots of new babies. There we go. That's my pitch. I'm done. Back to Paul for your third and final installment.
Well, this will be fun because I don't have a third and final installment. So I'm going to go back to the spoiler alert where there was no advanced warning of think of a game. When Justin said, I'm going to do a mashup of Knight Rider, Street Hawk, and what was the other one you wanted?
Kit, Knight Rider, Street Hawk, and Airwolf.
An Airwolf, yeah.
Yep.
All Saturday afternoon shows.
Yes.
And I thought, you left out the Fall Guy? You left out...
Oh, yes. The Fall Guy with his big Jeep. Yes.
Left out Manimal? You left...
You left out everything. What about Automan?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Both of you left out Automan.
There's a reason that was left out.
Automan was gold.
It was like the rival to Street Hawk, wasn't it? Which one came first?
Oh, ask Andy on the computer there. Street Hawk, I probably
Street Hawk
first.
came first, and then it was Automan. But I'll Google it for you anyway.
So was Street Hawk the one who had the orb, or was that Automan?
No, it was Automan. Cursor. It was a cursor. That's why it blinked. I don't know what I was doing, but it blinked.
But Manimal, I loved Manimal for whatever reason. It was just so weird and crazy, and I thought, there's a guy can turn into an eagle. And then the next minute, he's a panther.
Automan 1983.
Terrible.
It only aired for 12 episodes, but 13 were made.
Oh, there's one gold one somewhere.
If you remember, Paul, we were talking about this the other day. I was thinking you have to stick Miami Vice and Magnum PI in there as well, just from the era. I mean, if you're doing a role play, who doesn't want to be Magnum PI, or who doesn't want to like run about in, like the world of Miami Vice?
Street Hawk 1985. Automan came first.
Oh,
Automan was brought out as a sort of a Tron. That was quite good.
Yeah, yeah.
Street Hawk was Street Hawk kind of brought out. It was brought out to kind of combat Knight Rider, wasn't it?
Why use 4 wheels? But 2 will do.
Yeah, he didn't get many seasons of either, though.
Street Hawk, you actually want me to know? Street Hawk had a grand total of 13 episodes.
One season.
Yeah. Like, look up Manimal. I reckon there's now about 6 episodes of Manimal.
Now, what research results am I going to get here?
Oh, dear.
I'm just going to add TV show to the Google search. We all know what Paul's like living out there in Newton Ards. Manimal. Number of episodes, Paul, guess.
It's one of those ones where I reckon it was on every week for about 6 months, but I bet you there was only 6 episodes.
24.
No, Paul was actually pretty much on the money.
Was it? Okay.
8 episodes.
Yeah. It's like Faulty Towers. There's only like 6 episodes of Faulty Towers.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it must have bombed heavily.
The Panther transformations. There's a complete series DVD. It doesn't have any special features or extras because they didn't have a long enough time to make anything. So sorry, we got distracted. Sorry, Paul. What's your third choice? I'm getting a feeling that Manimal's not going to be it. Or it could be because you could go anywhere with Manimal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You could have a wild ride.
I quite like the idea of being able to your character to transform into anything that you need to happen at any given time. If you could turn it into any creature to get you out of any situation.
Wonder Twins unite.
Oh no, Susan, we've only got 1 cup. Whatever will we do?
That's going to be a perfect RPG. Tell you what, throw a 6. If you throw anything above a 6, you're going to turn into any inanimate object.
You can't have another RPG. It has to be a board game or a card game or a whatever.
Right, it's a card game. It's a card game because I'm going to mix up. I'm going to steal the Fall Guy, and I'm going to steal Michael Knight, and I'm going to steal Walker Texas Ranger, and they're all going to be available.
Sorry, I'm just going to say this right now. For anybody playing that game, anybody who has any clue will just want to play as Walker Texas Ranger because nobody can stop Chuck Norris.
He is the top trump card. He is the every ability going.
Well, it don't matter to him. He's just like, nope, I'm good.
Did you just attempt to hit me?
Okay. Hit your 20-sided dice out. You need to roll a 21 on one go to get it.
Paul, by the
you roll 20 20s in a row.
Paul's going to attempt to make some sort of Street Fighter card game based on obsolete TV characters, some of which who could have a fist fight and some of which relied on cars or motorbikes to avail. Okay.
This sounds epic.
It's got a certain charm. I think we might have to explore that one when you've actually had time to think about it instead of just grasping at straws. Justin,
well, Andy has to go and Google 20 different franchises here just to have games made of any of them. So your chances of winning this one are quite slim now because there's bound to be a game of one of those.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
What about the chips? I forgot about the chips.
Chips Highway Patrol. Yeah, only if you use the modern movie, which is awesome. Right, I think, you know what? Arbitrarily, we're just going to give Paul an X for that because it lacked any real thought-out process, and he just tried to merge about 5 different IPs, so he wouldn't even be able to buy a license for it. It just would not float. Justy, your third and final offering.
Right, I'm fairly sure a game of this does not exist. So we're casting ourselves way back in time to the Phil Silver show, and I'm going to go with Sergeant Bilko, where you're on the army base and it's a gambling game and responsibilities come up. So you have to go and do like parole or a parade or whatever, or you have to go to the motor pool and fix stuff. But Bilko, being Bilko, doesn't want to do any of that stuff. He's going to try and gamble and like make winnings to try and persuade other people to do his tasks for him, as is the way of the character of Bilko and everybody that worked for him. So yeah, gambling game, sort of get all your winnings together, try and persuade other people to do stuff. They can sort of like go, no, I need more or whatever. And you just sort of like, pay off your other people in the game to do tasks for you. And there are going to be certain rewards to sort of push you in different directions towards different goals in the game.
I love it. There was a Sergeant Bilko game.
Come on.
Seriously? No. I hadn't. You came too early there, Justin. It was 1958, mate. I'm going to say a sort of a Snakes and Ladders kind of looking thing, but kind of cute. No, I mean it's a brave and bold move to go so far back. It's kind of scary because. Well, you'll see why it's kind of scary in a second too when I offer you my third outing. Paul, any comeback on Sergeant Bilko? Good, bad, indifferent?
Indifferent. I'd rather you went for Dad's Army.
Except there's probably
a game of Dad's Army.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get the Bilko thing. What I liked there was the thematic aspect of it, of trying to shirk your responsibilities and off them onto our people. It reminds me a little bit of that Don't Drop the Soap card game, just the way you were kind of describing it.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not talk about that game ever again.
Nope. Game doesn't exist.
No, let's just pretend that didn't happen. My third and final offering, which I would have seen as being my card game offering, would have been the Addams Family.
There's bound to be a game. There's bound to be a game.
The Addams Family. Let's see.
Parker Brothers or somebody's done that.
Doodle-doo.
It's probably aimed at like ages 7 and up, though. It's probably a very young game, but there's
show us your thing.
Oh, very good. I'm not going to count Monopoly-based games as being games.
They're not games at all.
No,
Monopoly and it is, but everything's
going to be that nasty. There is listed on the Board Game Geek 1991, but it is pretty much the same sort of affair. It's literally, I mean, it's even got a space for what would essentially be community chest cards and stuff, No, I'm going to pass this one to the board and say, yeah, I think I can run with the Adams family. I basically want to do an Adams family deck builder. And the idea is that each of you is like a member of the Adams family, and indeed, obviously, some of the protagonists. I'm kind of comfortable going old TV show or going modern movies because I love them as well. Yeah. But the idea being, and you could probably have a couple of game modes, but the easiest one that I'm thinking on is where you're looking for the Adams family treasure. You're trying to get into the vault, trying to get the gold. Not for any sort of stealing it reason, bar the one of you who possibly is like the traitor. Oh, you could do a traitor card. You could have somebody who's not actually a member of the Adams family, but only they know it. And the other players are trying to find out if they're not a member of the Adams family, but like Battlestar Galactica, but with cards and stuff.
I saw a thing recently where it said that the Adams family, Gomez is the richest man in fiction. He's got more money than Bruce Wayne or anybody else. He's the richest man in fiction.
Yeah, I seem to remember reading something like that as well, because literally all the family just accumulates wealth, and the family before them just accumulated wealth and accumulated with no interest in spending it because they don't care.
And his only viable business is an alligator farm. Strangely, but it makes him money.
Weird. I don't remember that bit, but you know what? I would believe it. So, okay, at the end of that round, at the end of all these rounds, we've got Paul's A team. I'm looking at a fictional scoreboard as if this was, I don't know, like some sad, pathetic, low-budget version of 8 out of 10 Cats. As if you could make a low-budget version of that. I'm pretty sure they do it for free down a back alley. So we've got Paul's 18, which we kind of agreed, despite its misogynistic history, runs because there are men in games, and it's not unique for that. And it'd be awesome because nobody dies, so you could sell it to kids. Yep. But that was Paul's only win tonight, I believe, because his second offering on the Thundercats
was a very loose offering.
It was kind of like, yeah. Oh, we really could do with commercial breaks. That's the advantages of being cheapskates and using Zoom with limited time frames. And it could just be me, either time speeding up or Zoom's getting shorter. But there we go. We're back. Not that you will have noticed anything other than possibly we've all changed positions. The squares that we're appearing in have changed size because we've all moved around the window or something else. There's a thought. We should have all changed our backdrops, except Paul, because I don't think we could have waited long enough for you to change curtains.
For the viewers at home, the only person that's still in the same seat is Paul because his background hasn't changed, whereas you and I have actually swapped houses.
Yeah, we really have. Yeah. And we've possibly had a meal between times as well. So to recap the scores and the doors at the end of this budget episode, Paul scores 1 point, I believe, having come up with that. having come up with an absolute winner in terms of the A team as a game that can be happily presented to all ages and anyone who just loves gun violence. But scoring a miss on the Thundercats for lack of execution and scoring practically a deduction in points for his farcical attempt to band together 5 different IPs under some pathetic address as being a card game, because it just would never happen. You just wouldn't be allowed to make it happen.
But it'd be
good. Justin scored... I think we had to reluctantly give Justin... No, you lost 1 point for Monty Python because it existed. But you did score 2 points because...
Unfortunately.
Despite Paul and I's best efforts, we couldn't actually effectively counter bottom. I mean, other people have made games that nobody's bought. Some people seem to make a living doing that. So yeah, you get 2 points, and I lost on Blake 7 because
Blake 7.
Yeah, there was something in print. It might not be anything like a real threat, but because it was there in black and white on the screen, 1995, I said no, I'm not allowed to run with that one. But I got a win with Space 1999, and did I even do a third one?
You didn't do a search in the Adams Family.
You did Blake 7, Space 1999, and Adams Family.
Yeah, but you hadn't.
Yeah,
yes.
But it was so long ago that we recorded the last part of this that I'd forgotten.
Well, Andy, are we in a tie then?
We're in a tie. And you know what? If I had any faith that he could do it sensibly, I'd be tempted to sort of allow Paul to kind of pitch how we make a tiebreaker.
Well, I think we should submit one game each without an explanation. Just name the franchise. I'm going to go with MASH.
Oh,
I knew you were going to go with that. Well,
I already mentioned.
Okay,
yes.
I'm going to go with Dad's Army then.
Okay. Now, do either of them exist already as the game?
I know that now. I don't know this. It'll be up to Paul to decide whether it counts. MASH exists as a set of figures from Warlord Games for Bolt Action.
You see, that's figures.
That's just figures. That's not
its own game.
They do come with rules.
Nah.
Okay, let's see. MASH board game. Oh, there's something.
Oh.
Let's go on. But it could be something obsolete. Oh my word. That is so old. I didn't know they had games then. There was actually a version of the game. This looks to be one of those games that was made by somebody who'd been told they had been just given a license and then
panicked.
That was it. But it actually came with a helicopter, the wrong type, a Jeep with a yellow driver and a first aid badge, a tent, 3 or 4 flagpoles, and little cardboard standees of people that very loosely might be the characters, and then a game that looks like it was the birthplace of Monopoly. And that's from I don't even know when that's from. Uncredited designer, no known artist, published by Transogram.
That's
1975.
My goodness.
So MASH floats for nothing in recent print by the looks of things.
Dad's Army then.
It looks now. I do remember a Dad's Army board game when I was a kid. And this is it. Fisher Toys. 1974.
Oof.
Mine's is out of print longer.
Just going to say, how do I call this? Andy, are you engaging smug mode again?
For some strange reason, sir, I feel the need to feel slightly smug.
Well, I will agree with one thing. It was very close.
Yeah.
I think there's more scope with Dad's Army.
That's why we weren't leaving the final judgment to you. Justin and I came both our own way of deciding which of us won, and that was it in print, and then the final whose was out of print longer. Otherwise, you'd just picked Dad's Army. We know that because you'd already said earlier in the show how much you preferred Dad's Army. So,
but which one had a better theme song?
That was MASH. MASH was by a country mile.
Right. I would have still gone Dad's Army since it wasn't about killing yourself.
There's 101 ways you could slice this one, guys.
Oh,
I didn't even realize. I'm sorry. There's 101 ways you could call this one.
I think at the end of this, everyone's a winner for taking part.
Yes.
Because it's not like any of us sad sacks are going to have the money for a license anyway.
Especially Paul, because he's got like 9 or 10 of them to buy.
Yeah.
Is there a Jigsaw Hazard game?
Yeah, if they want me to look.
I'll go for it.
Probably go on a watch list.
You'd have to make very drastic changes to the car, unfortunately.
Why?
But you wouldn't be allowed the flag on top of the General Lee.
Why?
I have a mini. I do. I've got a miniature of the General Lee.
Did I miss something?
Which I use for Gaslands.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. The Dukes of Hazzard game. 1981.
Ooh, it's going back.
When did the show air?
1980s. Yeah. Oh my word. The sinking of the Titanic board game. and here's the funniest part. Who was the publisher? Ideal Board Games.
I thought you were going to say Ravensburger, but like
that would have been that's just bro. You can still get the Dukes of Hazzard board game, vintage 1981, $36, Paul. Some missing parts and another one for $12. Yeah, so there you go. Dukes of Hazzard. Interesting. Interesting in that even in 1981, with the General Lee featuring on the cover of the box, you can't make out the flag on the roof. The old one's on the door, and you can clearly see where the General Lee is written on the side of the roof. But from the angle of the game box, you can't make out that there's anything on the roof. And yet I would say by that picture, you probably suggest there should be. But we're not here to debate flags because that's what our country does an awful lot of the time anyway. There we go. Game over. That's it. Right. Everyone go home. Thank you for watching. It's been amusing for us.
It's been okay.
Heard about, really? Anyone want to add into that mix? No? Everyone happy? You happy at the gates of Eternia there, Justin?
Yep.
Cuboid Elephant Boy, you happy?
I'm always happy.
You're always happy. Well, it's goodbye from him, and it's goodbye from him, and it's cheerio from me. Goodbye.